The train to North Hollow arrived 10 minutes late. The air smelled of rain and iron. Detective Samuel Crane stepped onto the platform, coat collar up, hat low. He'd been summoned by letter, no signature, no sender. Only 3 words written in sharp, black ink: find Eleanor Gray. He didn't know who she was. But something in those words felt urgent, personal. The kind of plea that carried a ghost's weight. North Hollow was small, too quiet, too neat. The station master gave him directions to the inn. "You'll be wanting the Swan," the man said. "Everyone does." Crane nodded, thanked him, and walked into the drizzle. The town lay wrapped in fog. Gas lamps glowed like small stars. Old stone houses leaned toward one another, whispering secrets. A clock tower struck 4. Somewhere, a dog barked once, then silence. North Hollow didn't like strangers. At the Swan Inn, the fire was already burning. A woman stood behind the counter. "You must be the detective," she said. "News travels fast," Crane murmured. "In this town, it always does." She slid a register toward him. "Name?" "Samuel Crane." "Business?" "Missing person." Her eyes flickered. But she said nothing. "Room 3, she whispered. The floorboards groaned as he climbed the stairs. The corridor smelled faintly of lavender and smoke. He unpacked slowly, revolver, notebook, photograph of his late wife. The rain grew heavier. He lit a cigarette and stared out the window. Below, a figure stood at the edge of the square. A woman, in a dark coat, looking up at his window. Then, gone. The next morning, he began asking questions. The locals avoided his gaze. At the bakery, the woman behind the counter said, "No one by that name here." At the post office, the clerk shook his head. "You mean Miss Gray?" "Thought she was dead." Crane paused. "You knew her?" "Everyone did, once." "Who was she?" "A teacher. Lived by the lake. Until the night she disappeared." "When was that?" 3 years ago." The wind outside howled against the glass. "How did she vanish?" Crane asked. The clerk's face tightened. "You'd best talk to the constable." "And where's he?" "Graveyard shift," the man said. Literally. The constable's name was George Merrin. He lived above the butcher's shop. A big man with small eyes. He looked up from his tea when Crane knocked. "Detective, eh? I was told you handled Eleanor Gray's case." "Handled is generous," Merrin said. "We never found her. Never found a body either." "What happened the night she disappeared?" "Storm came in from the west. She left her cottage around dusk. Never came back." "Any suspects?" "Her fiancé, Dr. Nathan Cole. Still in town." "Why?" "Runs the old clinic by the woods." Crane thanked him and made his way to the clinic. The path wound through dripping trees. The building loomed gray and silent. Inside, the scent of ether lingered. A man appeared from the shadows, pale and gaunt. "You're trespassing," he said. "Dr. Cole, I presume." "Who are you?" "Detective Crane. I'm looking for Eleanor Gray." Cole flinched. "Why?" "Because someone asked me to." "Then they wasted your time." Crane studied him. "You loved her." Cole's jaw tightened. "Everyone loved Eleanor. But she loved you most. Until she didn't." "What do you mean?" "She changed. The last few weeks before she vanished, she wasn't herself." "How so?" "She'd wake at night, saying she heard voices. She'd walk to the lake and talk to the water." "And you didn't follow?" "I did. Once." She said the lake remembered. "Remembered what?" her sins. Crane returned to the inn unsettled. The rain hadn't stopped. He sat by the fire and opened his notebook. Eleanor Gray, teacher, vanished by lake. Fiancé, Dr. Cole. Claimed she heard voices. He underlined the word lake. A pattern was forming, a cold, wet, whispering pattern. He decided to visit the cottage. The next day, he borrowed a horse from the constable. The trail to the lake was narrow and steep. Fog curled through the trees like smoke. At the edge of the lake stood a small cottage with a sagging roof. The door was ajar. Inside, dust lay thick as snow. A chair had fallen over. Books were scattered on the floor, poetry, folklore, journals. One journal lay open on the table. He brushed away dust and read, "The voice calls again. It says the lake hides what it takes. I must find the key." Crane flipped through the pages. The water isn't water. It's a mirror. Nathan doesn't believe me. He says grief makes me mad. But the girl in the reflection, she smiles when I do not. He looked up sharply. A sound came from behind the cottage. Soft footsteps on wet grass. He stepped outside. A figure stood by the lake. A woman, in a dark coat. "Eleanor," he called. She turned slowly. Her face was pale, too pale. Then she vanished into the mist. Crane ran to the water's edge. Nothing. Only ripples spreading outward. He knelt and touched the surface. It was icy cold. For a moment, he saw another reflection beneath his own, a woman's face, eyes open, lips moving silently. He stumbled back. When he looked again, it was gone. He returned to town shaken. "You saw her, didn't you?" the innkeeper whispered. "How did you?" "Everyone sees her eventually." "You mean she haunts the lake?" "The lake doesn't haunt," she said. "It hungers." Crane couldn't sleep that night. The rain drummed against his window. At midnight, he heard a knock. He opened the door. No one there. But on the floor lay an envelope, old, yellowed, sealed with red wax. He tore it open. Inside, a photograph. Eleanor Gray, standing beside a man, not Dr. Cole. The caption read, "Eleanor Samuel." 1912, Crane froze. The man in the photo was him. He dropped into the chair, trembling. "Impossible," he whispered. His reflection in the window seemed older suddenly, eyes shadowed, haunted. Could it be another Samuel? Or was it him, from another life? The next morning, he went back to Dr. Cole. "Do you have this photograph?" he asked, slamming it on the table. Cole stared at it, color draining from his face. "Where did you find this?" "Someone left it at my door." "Then you should leave," Cole hissed. "Why?" "Because the lake doesn't forget its debts." That night, Crane dreamed. He stood beside the lake. Eleanor was there, whispering. "You left me once," she said. "I never knew you," he replied. "You did, before the water took you. Took me. You were supposed to die with me." The dream shattered. He woke soaked in sweat. Determined to end it, he returned to the lake. Dawn light shimmered on the surface. Mist swirled like breath. He stood at the shore, holding the photograph. "Eleanor Gray," he shouted. "What do you want from me?" The lake answered with silence. Then, ripples. A figure rose slowly from the water. Pale, dripping, beautiful. Her eyes met his. "You came back," she said. "Eleanor. You promised we'd never leave each other." "I don't remember." "You will." She reached out her hand. He stepped closer. The water mirrored his face, younger, colder. Why me? He asked. Because you're the one who pushed me. The world tilted. Memories flooded, a man and woman arguing, lightning splitting the sky, her falling into the lake. His hands shoving her. No, he whispered. Yes, she said. Now you see. That was another life. But deaths cross lifetimes. She smiled sadly. You always find me, Samuel. And I always drown. The lake swallowed her again. Crane fell to his knees. The wind screamed through the trees. He threw the photograph into the water. It burned, not sank, burned, with pale blue flame. Then the surface went still. When he returned to town, everything had changed. The inn was gone. In its place stood an empty lot. The streets were dust. The clock tower frozen. No voices, no people. Only silence. North Hollow itself had vanished. He walked to the station. The tracks ended at nothing. Beyond, endless mist. He turned back once more, and saw her. Eleanor, standing where the inn had been. It's over, he said. For now, she answered. Until the next time the water calls. Then she faded, like smoke in sunlight. Crane felt the world spin. The fog thickened. He blinked, and found himself back on the train. Ticket in hand. Rain tapping the window. The conductor passed, saying, "Next stop, North Hollow." He froze. "We've already been there," he whispered. The conductor frowned. "Never heard of it." The train slowed. Outside, endless forest. He looked down at his hands, they were wet. His coat dripped lake water. In his pocket, something cold pressed against his palm. He pulled it out. A small brass key. Etched with the name, Eleanor. The train plunged into darkness. He heard a faint ticking, like a clock underwater. Then a whisper, "You'll find me again." The lights flickered. His reflection in the glass wasn't his own. It was hers. The train emerged into light. No passengers. No noise. Only empty seats and mist beyond the window. He stood, heart pounding. "Who am I?" he murmured. The whisper came again, soft, distant, final, "You are the echo that never ends." The train stopped at no station. He stepped off into nothing. The mist closed behind him. Somewhere far away, the lake rippled once more. And two shadows, one man, one woman, stood on its shore. Hand in hand. Waiting for the next lifetime to begin. Above them, the clock tower chimed midnight. Its sound echoed through worlds. A story repeating. A circle never broken. The legend of Eleanor Gray, and the detective who could never stop finding her.